All right, we are live. So it's been a while since we've done one of these things. I'm here with Sarah. Sarah is the owner of Spark Fitness?
Fitness and lifestyle coaching.
Spark Fitness and Lifestyle Coaching. And so the theme that we're running with this month in the clinic has been change. And so we thought it would be really beneficial to share somebody other than myself talking about things with change. And something that I think would be very beneficial. And if you know us as a clinic, you know that we're very protective of our community, of our members, of our patients. And so anytime I stand behind a supplement or I stand behind somebody, it's because I can personally attest to the quality of that. And so if I'm letting them into that community, that's really what, I want that to be a resource for you all. So that being said, I want to jump into some questions with the topic being change. So really there's two different types of change, right?
Yes, so in life, I think everything's always changing. There's two different types of change. I would say there's the change that's always happening to us, and that's the change that we don't necessarily have so much control over. But then there's the change that we desire to create within or without ourselves in our lives.
So as far as working with you at Spark Fitness, is it something that anybody can do? Like, what does this look like?
Absolutely. I think with the right guidance and also the willingness to work at it, anybody has the potential to change.
So what, for a typical client or a typical scenario, like what are some of the biggest challenges new clients would face with change that you would see?
Okay, actually the first challenge is getting started in the first place. I think commonly what happens is there's a sense of like overwhelm with change because they think it has to be this big gargantuan life change, when in reality it's just small shifts that are made consistently over time that make the biggest change. One thing I relate this to is like, in golf, like it's called a 2 mm shift. So if you swing the ball in one direction, it's gonna end up in a spot, right? If you just shift the course of that ball like 2 mm, the trajectory of that is a completely different spot. And that's the same thing with change. There's these, I think misconceptions around fad diets and extremism where you think that in order to make this change, everything in your life is gonna have to be uprooted. And what happens is if you try to change too much at once, one of two things happen. So either nothing sticks, and that's not good because now you didn't complete the change. But more importantly is what that communicates to yourself is that you're subconsciously communicating to yourself, I don't have the potential to change. And that hurts your confidence and your belief in yourself. Everything starts with your confidence and your abilities to create the change in the first place. So starting small and then doing that consistently over time is what's gonna build that confidence. And that's gonna lead to you being able to tackle bigger changes in the future.
Absolutely. I think that it's funny that you say that because so often when I see when patients are consistent with their care, one of the first things I'll say is that's because of the consistency that you in place to create that change. The consistency is so powerful.
Yeah.
So some questions people can ask themselves when they're beginning, right? Like, does this feel good now? Is this for me?
Yeah. So another challenge I would say, actually, just going one step back, is one of the things that I think the steps that is missed often in trying to make a change is everybody knows like what they want to do. I want to lose 20 pounds. I want to get fit or whatever that may be. They kind of have a relative idea of how to do that. Eat healthy, exercise consistently, but not many people are clear on why. And I think what happens a lot of times is initially when you go to make that change, there's an initial motivation factor. You're all fired up about it. But what happens when that starts to get hard or when you don't want to do it? You're going to need something bigger than motivation or the what or the how to keep you going, and that's the why. So an exercise I actually like to do with my clients is called seven levels deep, where I literally just keep asking why until you get to that deep core why of why this is actually important and you must change now. Because when the motivation isn't there, that you're gonna need something bigger to pull you towards that than just losing 20 pounds.
Yeah, absolutely.
So bringing it back to that then is when it does get hard and uncomfortable, that's actually the most important time to dig in because that's when the actual change hits. Discomfort is not bad. Discomfort is actually where the growth and the change happens. When you push through that and past it, that's when you're actually changing. So when things get tough, there's a moment of decision, right? You can either continue on the path of change or you can revert back to old behaviors. And there's a couple questions you want to ask yourself in that moment. Is one, does this feel good now? Or, I think your phone just shut off.
Is this live?
That would be hilarious if it wasn't. However, I am filming the whole thing.
Okay. Oh no. I think we're live.
Okay, yes,
Okay, we're
we
just
are.
gonna keep rolling. We're going.
Yes,
So
that
where
was
are we at?
perfect. Okay, so questions to ask yourself in that moment of decision when things do get hard, because they will. Motivation's not always going to be there. It's coming and going all the time. So does this feel good now, or is this good for me? Chances are what feels good now in the moment is not necessarily what's good for you in the long run. So it's important to get really clear on what's going to make you feel good long term. Number two is, how will you feel after this? So you've got two options in that moment of decision. Continue on. So let's just take working out. So I don't feel like working out today. You can either skip or you can stay consistent with your habits. But if you skip, how are you going to feel after this? If you go, how will you feel after this? And only you know the answer to that, and I think we all know the answer to that too. Number three is, where does this lead if I don't change this now? I think it's very, very common to just get caught up in the moment and not think about 5 steps ahead of where is this behavior, habit, or lack of change leading me. And then all of a sudden you find yourself in a spot, 6 months down the road that you're not too happy about. So those are 3 questions that you can ask yourself. And then if it's okay with you, I'd like to share a tool that when implemented will instantly keep you on track. And it's actually called Act As If. So what you want to do is just think of yourself like as your best self. And this could be in the area that you're trying to change or just in life in general. But literally close your eyes, think of that person, the characteristics, what you would think about, your language to yourself, your habits, your behaviors, how you're approaching your day, everything down to how you're breathing and speaking to the people around you. And literally just start acting as if you already are that person now, because if you do that consistently every single day, well, then you just end up as that person.
Yeah,
So that's like the best tool.
We just did a firearms class, and they were like, "Who is the person who you would want to come to your rescue?" And it was literally that exact exercise, and it was awesome. So I can attest, it works. So, and it's funny that you mentioned support. I just want to hit on that real quick because that's one of the first things too that I'll notice is patients will say very often when they start coming in for those consistent adjustments, they'll say, "This is weird, but I'm starting to get really sore." And it's counterintuitive because they came to me initially because something
Yes.
bothered them. And they never expect it because they'll say, "That's great," because that means your body's actually starting
Yes.
to respond.
Exactly.
But having that support from me to explain that to them, so then they're like, "Oh, that's a good thing then. Awesome, we're on the right track."
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's kind of like the reiteration, because sometimes you don't know.
Yeah.
It's new territory, and that's why putting yourself in the hands of a professional is helpful, because otherwise you don't know what's right or what's like good pain and what's bad pain.
Right. So if somebody was looking to work with you, how would somebody start? What would that action step be?
To work with me,
Yeah.
literally, you can email me, sarahsparkflc.com, or social media, and it starts with a phone call, just to get to know you, because you got to make sure too, with fitness is so personal, right? It has to be a good fit. So getting to know the individual's goals, what their life is like, and that all just starts with booking a phone call. You can either email me or book a call directly on my social media.
Awesome. And this is a little bit change of direction, but for patients out there who are watching, you know that from the clinic, our focus is always getting to the root of the problem, right? We say we want to address the fire, not the smoke. So much of other sources of taking care of yourself, it's so smoke focused, and it's well, what is really going on here? Getting deeper. So one of the things that I really appreciated about Sarah, and you can go into this, but how does what you do support clients' ability to support them from the inside out, from within?
Yeah, okay, so there's two levels to that. I would say at a surface level, what I really do is I create the roadmap. Coming back to kind of habits and stuff, change looks so different for each individual. What works for one may not work for you, and that's going to require different strategies and approaches. So what my job really is to create the roadmap that's both going to be effective and then also integrate into your life to enhance it and not make you feel restricted, and also help you have fun doing it, because it is fun. Like, fitness is fun, growing and changing and pushing yourself is fun. It's fun to discover what you're capable of. So at a surface level, I help people do that so that they're able to accomplish their goals successfully. At a macro level, coming back to the fire and smoke analogy, is working through this process and finding out who you are and what you're capable of is the most rewarding process. A lot of people come in and they want to lose 20 pounds or they want to lose the weight, but more importantly, they want to feel confident. They want to have more energy. We're still here.
So here.
We're still here, I promise. They want to have more energy, and why they want that is because they want to be able to play with their kids or their grandkids or enjoy more out of life. So helping people get in tune, helping you get in tune with that so that you can enjoy more out of life and discover what you are capable of. I wonder if they can still hear.
Oh, I keep turning off. Okay.
Discovering, I'm sorry, we have to laugh at that because it is funny. Discovering who you are and what you're capable of is really at the root of it. And all the health benefits aside, that's great, but what you're building instead is confidence, energy, empowerment, belief in yourself. And this is going to make you a better parent, a better spouse, a better performer at work, a better person in literally all areas of life that are important to you. So I would say that's how I do that.
That's awesome. I love that so much. So yeah, we hit on how people can reach you. Oh, one more thing I wanted to share too, because so often when people start up care with me, one of the questions they'll ask is like, well, what are some exercises I can do? What's some nutrition that I can do? Like, what should I be eating? What are some stretches? What, like, asking for these deeper levels of guidance, which I don't feel like I enjoy going and taking care of myself and doing my thing, but I don't feel able to address that with a lot of my patients. So I think my vision was to doing something like this with somebody like Sarah, so that you have somebody like that as a resource that you can trust and get behind and give more power to that, other than like, you know, there's some good stretches on YouTube or whatever that may be, you know. So that was my vision too. Is there anything else you wanted to add?
Yeah, I would say just doubling down on that is I would just encourage people, because I think people think it's a lot more complex than it is, and it's very, very simple as long as you're willing to put in some work and just follow the guidance of a professional. It's very, very easy. There's a lot of information out there, but it's very simple, just executing a few small behaviors where that can take you, and just take that initial step, because once you move past that point of decision, it gets harder and harder. If you've been thinking about it, just do it. Just take an action towards it right now, even if you have to turn off this live. No, don't turn off the live.
All right, awesome. That's everything I've got. Good?
Ditto.
All right. Have a great day, everybody. Did that even, like...